Hey everyone, Feeper here with another video for you. I want to do a little mini series about PvP in Final Fantasy. There's not a ton of information in like guides and videos out there about it, and I think it kind of feeds into the vicious cycle of people not really trying it, and then not many people do it. So Square doesn't put a ton of effort into it. Um, so I kind of want to help bridge that gap if there are people who are interested in doing it, they just don't know where to start. It's a lot of fun. You should really check it out. Even if you're not super interested into PvP, just give it a shot. You might really like it. You never know. So let's kind of jump in here. Now you queue for this like you would queue for anything else, like a roulette or whatever. It's through the duty finder. The matches for the feast last for 6 minutes, and you have to have a level 30 job. Now disclaimer. I should have said this at the beginning, but after doing 5 takes, my brain is starting to malfunction. um, So I'm going to be focusing on the feast. I'll do the other game modes as well. I'm going to start with the feast because this is what the ranking system is based off of, what a lot of the tournaments are based off of. And it's just like the most competitive game mode. It's 4v4, and that's what we'll be starting with. So with that out of the way now, 6 minute game mode with a 2 minute overtime. Have to have a little 30 job. You do get experience towards your job through PvP. You get experience points or rank points in the actual PvP game mode, and then you get actual experience towards leveling your job for the rest of the game, which is pretty cool. Like I said, it's 4v4, so one tank, one melee DPS, one range DPS, and one healer. Prize both the teams. Any This hasn't been updated for all the new jobs or the 2 new jobs, but all the jobs are available in PvP. Now, if you do the training game mode, which is pretty much what everyone's doing right now, because the rank system or the rank season hasn't been updated or hasn't out yet. Jeez, I'm really losing it. um, is going to be this map, Crystal Tower. It's this rectangular looking boy. And once you queue in and once you get into a match, the gates will drop after 60 seconds, and then you start killing people. Now, before we get into how you win and why you want to kill people and stuff, one quick thing is the chat is limited in PvP. You can't, dash FC, talk to people, or do a cross rolling shell. So to ensure people don't like troll their team and stuff, you have to use preformed messages that Square has made, like "hello" and "attacking healer" or "falling back," stuff like that. Um, and you just assign those on your hotbar and press them, and they go, and they make little sounds. So yeah, basically, the way you win is you want to collect these medals. Everyone starts with a certain number of medals, and when you die, you drop them, and then the enemy team will pick them up. And if you have either more medals than the other team, when the time expires, you win, or if you get a certain number of medals. Now, each role can only hold a certain amount. So tanks can hold the most at 200, melee can hold the second most at 175, then ranged at 150, and then healers with the least at 125. And these are the icons for what they look like on the ground. So someone will die, and depending on how many medals they are holding individually, it'll drop one of these icons. So this is the least with these 2 little silver coins, and then this chest full of them is the most. Um, you also drop these if you DC, you just immediately drop them. And the way you pick them up is simple. You literally just stand over them for like a second. Depending on when the server tick happens, it feels more like 2, but it's actually only like a second long or something. Um, it's connecting. Now, at the top of the screen, you'll see this guy right here. So your team that you're on will be on the left, and the enemy team will be on the right. And it'll show all the 4 jobs and the remaining time, and how many tokens you have. Each team has total, the big number here, and each person holds individual. Now, in addition to that, oh my god, eye, what's in my eye? In addition to that, you'll have the enemy team on the right side of your UI and your team on the left side. Now it'll show if they're marked for, attack this target first or whatever, it'll mark them there as well. This is what they're casting, very similar to how it is in like a party for like a dungeon or something. Their job icon, health, mana, buffs and debuffs, and then this will be their role actions right here that they have equipped that they've chosen, and then this is their adrenaline ability, which is the same for every role. All the tanks have the same one, all the healers have the same one. The tank one, just to kind of give a quick brief overview, the tank one is just a party-wide massive damage reduction, similar to how Limit Break works for tanks in trials and things. Healer is just a giant burst heal, and then ranged physical is a line AoE, ranged magical is a circle AoE, and then it's a single target burst for melee. Basically, exactly how it works for um, other duties. Now, before we get into sudden death, I do want to talk about what the culling time is because it involves sudden death or is involved with sudden death. So the culling time occurs whenever there hasn't been a kill for 90 seconds, normally in the normal part of the game. So in the first 6 minutes of the game, if there hasn't been a kill in 90 seconds, the culling time will activate. What it does is it puts a debuff on every person, which makes them take 10% more damage, and it stacks up to 5 times. So each stack happens after an interval of 15 seconds. Um, Obviously, that's 50% extra damage at the max stacks, and if you're like a gunbreaker or a DPS, you can just pretty much one shot anything, or two shot it at least. And then the culling time will end once someone dies, and if there's not another kill for another 90 seconds, it'll then do it again. You could have 3 or 4 culling times per round, or you could have 0. It really just depends on how often people die. Now, for sudden death, the culling time just starts immediately, and the first team to pick up a medal, so basically the first team to get a kill, will then win the sudden death. Now, if say no one picks up any medals in the 2 minutes the sudden death happens, which is pretty unlikely, it'll just result in a tie, and then die. Now, in addition to picking up medals and attacking players, there will be these two, I guess, consumable type things that you can attack, and then once you kill them, whatever team gets the final blow will then uh, it'll drop on the ground similar to medals. Got my brain slowing down, and then you can pick it up and it'll give you a buff. So there's the Wolf's Heart, which is this guy right here. It'll give you 2% of your max mana per second over 1 minute, and also increase movement speed by 10%. And then there's Adrenaline, which will give you 25% of your adrenaline gauge, or which is basically your limit gauge. And that's pretty much it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we already talked about the culling. And then, yeah, the rest of this is just kind of information about PvP ratings for the rank system. These are all the icons for the different tiers, and how to qualify for promoting, different seasons, how the ranks carry over, stuff like that. Custom matches, spectator, how to make your own PvP team if you have a bunch of friends on an FC or something. So yeah, I'll link this in the description if you guys want to take a closer look at the rest of this information, but it's not super necessary for just understanding how the game mode actually works itself. I hope for those of you who are kind of thinking about trying out the feast but aren't really sure what to do, this kind of gives you a brief overview of what's happening, because it can be pretty confusing if you just like go in and you're just like, oh, I have to kill people, or I have to heal, or I gotta CC someone, and then it's like the culling time. You're like, I don't know what's happening, and there's all these medals on the ground, and you're just like freaking out. And you don't know what to do, and you're just like aimlessly running around, and then there's these adrenaline boxes, and there's all these things going off. It can get a little overwhelming pretty quick if you don't do it a bunch. And I think it turns a lot of people off because they're just like, what was that? And they're like, it wasn't really fun. So I'm going to not do that again. But yeah, I hope for those of you that are thinking about it, you definitely try it out. And this kind of helps give you an insight as to what to do off the bat. The next video I'm going to do in this little series will be about tanking in PvP for the feast. Considering that all I do is tank now, pretty much. I guess it's the most logical place to start for me. So be on the lookout for that video, and I'll catch you guys in that one. Peace.